YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. As you know, this is just north of San Mateo, north of Millbrae, near the SFO area, which is not too far away, but we're not seeing any reports of flights at SFO or operations there being affected. So far, it is limited to that immediate area, but police mean business. They are asking people to stay away as police are there with their guns drawn. Residents have also been asked to stay away, and right now it is very tense. It is very tense. There are reports that shots may have been fired at YouTube's headquarters in San Bruno. We don't know anything about any possible injuries. We have not seen anyone taken out in stretchers or anything like that, so we can't tell you about injuries, but we can tell you that police are asking people to stay out of the area. Producers, if we get a chance, we can pull up the San Bruno police tweets and let folks see what we're talking about with San Bruno police telling people to stay out of the area. We are also seeing tweets from people who, one of the YouTube producers, who's pretty well known, saying that he heard shots and saw people running while he's at his desk inside YouTube. And he's barricaded inside a room with coworkers. Okay, now you're looking at Sky 7, checking out a lot of the people who came out of the building, who have made it to safety, who are located on the outer edges of the campus with police around them. And you can see some of the 1,700 people who work in the YouTube building there in San Bruno who have made it out safely. Each and every one of the people who have exited the building. And, obviously, even if they have one person and think she may be the one, obviously they want to be extra vigilant, continuing to pat down everyone, make sure there isn't a possible accomplice or a possible other person who has a weapon on them as they exit.
No, and we've seen these scenes far too often with people with their hands up in the air, just making sure that they were not somehow involved in what happened.
Evidence markers, and for those of us who've been at previous crime scenes, those usually indicate bullets being fired. Again, Steve Moore is with us this afternoon, a former FBI expert. And when you heard that witness say it, just again, the fact that there was rapid fire, we do know that witnesses can kind of have different accounts after a traumatic event like this, but when you hear that term, rapid fire, what comes to mind?
Well, it means it's one of 90% of guns on the planet, semi-automatic guns. He wasn't describing full automatic fire, machine gun fire. He was describing semi-automatic, which means it could be, and I'd love to be there asking him questions, but it's either a pistol or a semi-automatic rifle of some type. The speed at which he was describing the bullets going off or the rounds going off indicates that it could be either. If there's 10 rounds, a lot of weapons will hold 10 to 15 rounds.
The door into work. So, Dick, have you heard any more from your colleagues in the emergency field? Anything more from law enforcement about what went on today or what is underway right now?
Well, what they're going to have to do now that the building is in the process of being secured, and it's my understanding that that's pretty much the case at this point, they're going to have to process this facility as a crime scene. They're going to have to try to duplicate the direction of travel and investigate, as you were saying, just how did this person get into the building. They could have gone up if just below my name there on the video you're seeing now, there is, just above the garage, there is a staircase that goes up to that patio. That staircase is also gated. So, if somebody really wanted to get back there, they could probably scale the fence if they were athletic and get back there. But, they have a number of private events back there. During the summer, they have some concerts and whatnot, and, they are not open to the public. So, should be a pretty secure campus from that standpoint. And these are all the things that will be evaluated now, not only by, the Google and YouTube security staff, but also by the local authorities, the federal authorities who are now going to come in, the ATF, the FBI, and all the federal agencies that are are going to be participating in the investigation now, and I'm sure, as these things unfortunately always do, will have an impact on their security, Google security, YouTube security going forward, and they will probably fortify areas that they reassess and think could possibly be weak points in their security.
Of course, Dick, and to your point, I mean, we had zoomed in there with our helicopter Sky 7 overhead there, and we had zoomed into that door that is right next to the patio where the gun woman may have gone in, and that's a tall wall there. I mean, that would not be very easy to climb up that wall. You see some people standing by that door. It looks as though it is a pass key door. There you go. So yes, Of course, there was security in place. It looks as though somehow the gun woman got in, found her target, opened fire, and then killed herself.
Well, and I can tell you for certain that members of the public can't get in through that door, because I've been in that very spot at that door with my family as they use a very famous smartphone-based game that requires going out and hunting in various locations. And there is a gym for that game inside the YouTube property that you have to get close to access that gym to play the game. And that gate is as far as you could get to getting within a reasonable distance of where that fictitious gym is located.
Dick, thanks so much. That's ABT7 engineer Dick Epting. Now, Kristen, of course, this incident at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno is getting reaction from around the country, including the president.
Yeah, let's take a look at some tweets just out. President Trump now speaking out about it. He says, was just briefed on the shooting at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved. Thank you to our phenomenal law enforcement officers and first responders that are currently on the scene. And House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco also tweeted not too long ago. She says, my staff and I are closely following developments from the active shooter situation at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California. Thank you to our heroic first responders. Our Bay Area community and all American communities deserve real action to end gun violence. Now, gun violence has been in the news quite a bit lately with student marches and protests, so no doubt this situation with the shooting at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno today will add more fuel for the fire in the debate over gun violence and what to do about it, which is a hot political button here in the U.S.
Absolutely, Kristen. You talk about what might be the motivation to this. You know, we live in very, very dangerous times, obviously, with the threat of terrorism all the time. And it is, in a sense, you can talk about this with the reports we're hearing about this potentially being a domestic situation. This could be a very old motive from years. This is the type of thing that people have done for decades, of course, if this does in fact turn out to be a domestic violence situation. So this perhaps is not a sign of the more pressing times in terms of terrorism, but if it turns out to be that same old problem with domestic violence, it's a horrible thing, but you're right. It'll totally bring up more discussion about gun rights, about restricting access to weapons, about background checks, and the rest.
Right now we want to show you an article we found that gives you a glimpse inside the San Bruno headquarters of YouTube. This is from an SF Gate article from a few years back, but you can see how gorgeous it is. There are a lot of perks for employees, and the facility offers a full-length swimming pool, an Olympic-sized pool there for the employees to work out in. I should just say full-length rock pool. We don't know if it's an Olympic-sized pool, but they also have a putting green. You can see as we scroll down, that picture you see right there is actually a bar where folks can, actually, you know what it is? It says flat screens on the wall, which plays YouTube trend playlists so employees can stay up to date with what's happening on their site, a way for them to stay connected with their work. But you can see it is state-of-the-art, real state-of-the-art, real modern in design. There are communal workspaces that encourage collaboration, a real communal work style, and couches that encourage comfortable discussions. And it just has that laid-back mentality that so many of these Silicon Valley companies do. But the openness, the flip side of that, does make it possibly more of a target when you do have the outdoor patio seating and the real openness.
Right.
That these buildings are designed to to, generate.
And I see those pictures, Kristen, and I can't help but wonder, how will the employees see those same offices tomorrow? Will they see that patio in a different light, given what's happened there? And just a scene setter for our viewers here as we go up to 3:17 here in the afternoon. We are expecting another news conference from SF General. We heard earlier from Brent Andrew, a spokesman from SF General, talking about the 3 patients that he has there at SF General, the male who's 36, critical condition, the female who's 32 and serious, and the other female who is 27 in fair condition. And the one fatality in this, apparently, according to police, is a shooter. We do not know her identity at this point, but she was found in a room inside YouTube headquarters with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and one of her victims was laying there as well. We could really just assess that it's probably that male that's at SF General right now in a critical condition. We will hear more coming up at that news conference at 3:30. And so once again, this started at around 12:48 this afternoon.
Yeah.
The first reports, the police on the scene rushing to reports of an active shooter, and here we
2.5
are.
hours ago, yeah. What's interesting, Dan, is if in fact it does turn out to be domestic violence, we need to remember that this is with a twist, that familiar theme with a twist, in the sense that the shooter in this case was a woman. Now, we do not know the gender of the victim,
right,
but because we do know at SF General there are 2 women and a man, so we don't know who her partner would have been had it been a domestic situation. But men are also victims of physical violence and domestic violence. It is more common that it's women. In fact, studies show that 1 in 4 women will be the victim of a severe physical violence by a partner in their lifetime. But the number for men is also 1 in 7. So we don't think of it as much, but it certainly does happen. And if nothing else, this situation may also be brought to light and shine a light on the fact that what we don't talk about, that men could also be the victims of domestic violence. And either way, just like gun violence, it's a difficult subject, but needs to be tackled in this country in the debate.
And we are still kind of sorting out where victims went and when. We heard earlier that there are no patients now at Stanford, but I see that the LA Times has just updated their reporting to say that, quoting Lisa Kim, the spokeswoman for Stanford Medical Center, saying that they expect at least 4 patients from the shooting to be admitted.
Well, that's who we quoted earlier as well.
Got you,
so
okay.
We expect they probably got the same older information from Lisa. So there was internal
confusion. We got the new information.
Yes,
gotcha.
There was confusion on Stanford's end as well. As you know, these situations change quickly. So we continue to look at video of the moments when this first started to happen and folks first started to evacuate the building. This was kind of the first wave that ran out with their heads above their heads before they all were searched thoroughly, individually, one by one, taken to safer locations away from the building. So right now what we know is this, just to recap for you, this all happened at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, and a woman believed to be the shooter has been found inside, believed to have been killed by her own self-inflicted gunshot wound.